Hi. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kristine Kieland, and I'm a medium. And today I would like to share with you how a session goes. And typically, what I do is I record the session when I'm working with somebody, and they get the recording. And today I want to share a session I had with a gentleman a little while ago, in his 50s, and his mother and father had both transitioned, and he's going through some challenges health-wise and emotionally, and just trying to kind of figure out how really how to like have a better life. So my intention when I work with somebody is to give them information that's most valuable for them at the time. Um, so that, and my guidance is asking me to slow down because I do have a tendency to talk fast. Um, so I just wanted to share a little bit of that session. I'm not going to share the recording because that was private, but after the session, it doesn't happen too often, but the mother who had transitioned in her 70s um, asked me to please share the session so that people could get a better understanding of how this works. I also have permission from the gentleman. So after the session, it was actually a little bit after the session, the mother came to me and asked me to share the session, and then I had to get permission from the son. So I had to take a lot of notes because I don't always remember what occurs in the session because it's really between the people that I'm having a conversation with. It's not really my information, but and it's really actually beautiful when people can come through and share their thoughts. And one thing I also want you to know about mediumship is really it's just as a medium, we just translate information from different fields of energy and different dimensions. So as a medium, this in this instance, I'm talking to someone who had transitioned out of the body so that she could have a conversation with her son who was still in the body. But as a medium, you also talk to people who are in the physical body, whether it's a person or an animal or a plant or the ocean or whoever it may be that wants to have consciousness, because we all have consciousness, just have different forms and different vibrations. So the first thing that came through for this gentleman um, was he had a lot of sadness within him. He wasn't really aware of the sadness, and even doing the session with me was, out of character for him, but he really needed some help. So kind of, sometimes you get people because they're just it's out of their comfort zone, but they've tried everything else, so they end up coming to me or someone like me. And I was also given the information to have him use ruin stones as protection. He thinks he needs to control his emotions, and he actually is a spiritual warrior. He's had a lot of lifetimes as a warrior helping others, but this life experience he's in battle with himself, and he does have an animal um, totem animal guide. And at this moment in life, and things change as you go through your life. So what maybe like right now is an elk as an animal guide, which brings stamina, but it will change throughout, perhaps it changes throughout your life. So again, the sessions are for always what's best for you in this moment as we're having the conversation. Um, he tries really, really hard to control his emotions. He's not very comfortable with his emotions. It's very vulnerable for him. And that's where a lot of the sadness comes through because he carries a lot of things instead of processing them. Again, he's a man in his 50s, so this isn't unusual. And whenever we do sessions, there's never blame or shame or guilt. It's just really how do we bring understanding? It's for healing. These sessions are for healing. When I started 15 years or so ago, I really didn't know what this work would entail. I had no idea how transformative and how powerful these sessions are. They truly are for healing the mental, physical, emotional bodies. And we've been healing, as you've witnessed, we've been healing our emotional bodies for a very, very long time. And when the emotions aren't healed in the emotional body, it tends to show up in our physical body. It's a little bit easier to feel pain in the physical body for many than it is to feel the emotional pain. And this is something this gentleman has also experienced. But his life mission, if you want to call it that. One of his life concepts that he's working on is transitioning from a person with power to a person with strength. And this person's worked in the corporate world most of his life. Um, for the last 25 years or so, he's worked his way up the ladder in the corporate world, and it's been very successful. Um, I'm just reading my notes here because as I said, I don't always remember the sessions. And I do want to express my gratitude to not only the mother and the father came through to, and for the son, this beautiful, beautiful family came through to give guidance and clarity and strength to those that are listening, and I am so appreciative that they give me their time and their care and that they share their love with all of us. Because his story I'm hearing is fairly common, but it's also a way to share how a session with me and other mediums and other people work. But again, I'm just so happy to be here with you and to share their experience with you. So again, I said his life experience about transitioning from a place of power, and perhaps that's power over one another, or just having power, being a powerful force in life, but he's really trying to transition that into strength. And as I'm witnessing him, he is changing into more of a strength of self, strength and knowing and being what do they want to say? Because I'm listening to the gentleman now, even though we're not in session. His strength comes from being vulnerable and being soft and gentle with himself, not so much, of course, with others, but with himself, to be allow that love and care that he so desperately wants to share with others to be brought to himself too. And that as it continues to change in his vibration and frequency, keeps evolving, his life experiences will be to evolve the consciousness of his soul, as it is for all of us. And this is a direct message from his mother as we were in the session. And I'm not going to share his name, but she says, "Dear boy, I love you so deeply. I honor all that you are. However, there's a covering. It feels like a sheath or a layer. It has to be over a fat." And she says it's right over his abdomen. And this sheath of fat covers your truth. You do not see this. You judge yourself as less than. You judge yourself so harshly, dear one. This is not true. You are more than you realize. Your strength and light leads many. A few lifetimes ago, you believed someone who tortured and judged you, and I'm not really sure, she wasn't sure who this person is, but you believed the judgment. And since that life experience, you've taken that judgment to your heart and you carry it forward with you, and you judge yourself very, very harshly. This changed and kind of this changed the belief in yourself and kind of steered the journey you are now on. Oh, it's steering the journey you're on now. So the journey you're on now is to overcome the judgment of self and to let yourself to be vulnerable and to bring that self-love and compassion to yourself. Your desire at this time is to be clear of purpose and to walk tall and proud into your own divinity. Your body and soul has many burn marks and scars. At this time, you're ready to receive healing of soothing balms, and that is what is being brought to you today. You are not damaged. This is not our word, but yours, or crippled. The angels are here to help you free your untruths. And right now, at that time, I saw like birds taking the cloak off of him. They're kind of angelic birds, and at the time, we could actually hear birds in the session. I could hear like the birds. I think it was not blue jays, maybe robins were outside my window, and it's like energetic. I could see the birds lifting this cloak off of him. And I want to let you know that things change in the quantum field before they change the physical field and the emotional field. So as this energetic sheath is being removed, it also help him with this physical body. This gentleman also wasn't sure that he was deserving of the help, but we're working on that also. So the angels have been the medical angels, and a lot of times the medical angels and the Arcturians work with, the Arcturians work with the emotional body, and some of the other galactics and light beings work with the physical body. The Orion Collective works really well with the physical body too. But they've been patiently waiting to be called in so they can help with your physical body. Somewhere in your being, you believe that you do not deserve a healthy body. Your heart, which is lighter than your soul. Your heart, which lightens your soul, your physical being, will become physically lighter as you go through this transformative journey, as you evolve your consciousness and you allow yourself to love yourself and be vulnerable. And they're asking they're asking this gentleman. And so when I do the work, it's like his mother's talking, his higher self is talking, his guidance team is talking, but it comes through in one voice. And the guidance I gave him was to picture yourself holding your babies. And again, this man was in his 50s and he had children, late 20s. Imagine yourself holding your babies. You create fun. What fatherhood was and is to you is this wonderful spirit at its best. So being a fun father and being a father was part of his whole soul's desire to bring in some of the to could learn to stop judging himself, to bring that softness. And we're going to talk, I guess it talks a little bit later about his childhood. We'll get to that in a minute, why it's so important for him to be a father. Also, he had a great desire to be an entrepreneur. Um, when we do the sessions, things don't always come in linearly, so it may sound like I'm bouncing around a little bit. Again, these are notes the mother gave me after the session because we did not want to share the recording with you. This man also had a great desire to be an entrepreneur, and he did have, besides his corporate career, he had businesses that he also developed and created. Um, this is where you find yourself separately from the known existence that you had. So going from the known existence as a powerful person, worked his way through the corporate ladder, but to gain strength of self, and to put himself into different situations, which would create different life experiences. And he did it very, very well. Thank you for staying with us. And then they talked about the belief they're trying helping him let go of that belief of to be powerful is his best, which is no longer his best. Gaining strength and courage and vulnerability and love himself is what's best for now. But I saw this release come out like a balloon, kind of in like a balloon being released from the top of his head, and they were all purple, like a crown around his head with purple roses and blue, and that all went down into his shoulders. And that was the colors. I'm just at so that's communication with self. And I have to kind of go back into the session to remember exactly, but it's really his crown opening up so he get better guidance from his higher self and his team. And then they talked about his dad came in, and his dad evidently had a very nice car. I heard it was a green Ford LTD, and the dad had the habit of really wanting to support the son and be generous, but the dad also had his own fear there. So sometimes he would get very almost aggressive and felt like he was being taken advantage of. And he also wanted to teach responsibility to his son. But through that, the dad would give him things and then take them away. So the son learned in his belief system, you don't deserve nice things. So he puts the brake on in his abundance sometimes, and it created sometimes the ability that he was afraid to move forward. And the way he feels things, the right side of his body is his physical reality, and the left side is his emotional body. Um, and he carries a lot of duty within his body. They're asking him to suspend he's very overly responsible. Let me see. I must have I'm sorry, we're back. I missed the page here. When he's 15 years old, the father was a very authoritative figure, and the son was taught to take responsibility very, very seriously. Don't let your guard down, and don't give don't give your permission. Sorry. Like I said, I don't always remember the conversations when I'm out of it, so I'm making sense of the notes that the mother gave me, and this was a very quick download the mother gave me about 2 or 3 days after the session. So I wrote things very, very fast. But he's not able to let his guard down. And he learned very early on, about 15 years old, to be a man is to be responsible, which is a very heavy burden at times. And he actually went into marriage, where it was a very traditional marriage. So he did have the responsibility of being the breadwinner for most of the marriage. It was a heavy, heavy burden for him at times. And it wasn't always his choice to have that type of a setup, but that's the marriage that they had. So he's he's being guided to give yourself permission to change your responsibility accordingly. And he's working on that. He's working on saying no to things. He's working on saying, I'm asking the spouse to please take some of the responsibility. They're actually through this this conversation, and I've met with this gentleman a couple times. They're working on changing the dynamics of the marriage because it's just best for him, and it turns out it's best for the wife too. Um, and he also has some digestive issues, and the guidance that came is your gut is your clearinghouse, your command center. So he holds very tightly into what is right and wrong. He holds within his digestive system in his belly, and he also has some other metabolic things going on. Excuse me, my cat's here and she wants to get out of the room for just a minute. We don't want her. Come on, honey. Thank you for that interruption, but she's 19, and when she wants to eat, she needs to eat right now, or she needs to go to the restroom. Um, so we're working mentally, physically, emotionally with this gentleman, and of course, we have the guidance of his mother, his higher self, his father, and his team. And he also talks about now the gentleman's higher self coming in and telling me about his life experience. When he was 3 years old, I saw him on his tippy toes, just this beautiful little, this sweet little boy, really just the sweetest little boy. And he was enjoying the freedom of the new body. He was showing me how he liked being in a physical body again and how it worked so well. And he learned how to walk and talk and just was really excited to be 3 and be in a new physical body. He enjoyed not having the responsibility, all the playfulness of being 3 years old. He had a mother that was great at being, he was an only child. He had a mother that was great at being on the floor and playing with him, and she spent a lot of time and gave him a lot of time and attention. He had a very happy childhood, really happy with his mother. And then they were asking, then his guidance came in and said, do you remember when your son was born? And it was very hard when your son was born. You became very serious and you lost that playfulness that you had with your first child, because the overwhelming need to be responsible and to be a man came in, and you became very serious about your career. You continued your education. You took the job of fatherhood very seriously and the job of protector and provider very, very seriously. But you lost a little bit of that playfulness and that spark of enjoyment that you had in your life previously. Now your dad came in, and the dad had transitioned out of the body a few years before the mother. He came in with a great big smile on his face, told the gentleman how much he loved to run and play with the son, and he remembers his son being that sweet little boy at 3, 4, 5, and 6 years old, and that the father too had a hard time when as the child got older, as the son got older, being less critical and being more playful with his son, because it was so important for him to not get knocked around by life and to have strength, determination, and to really stand up to life, because he felt like life would bully his son because he was a sweet little vulnerable child, and the father really wanted to protect him. So at times he was harsh and critical as the gentleman that I work with became a teenager. But he does remember that little boy and how sweet and how wonderful it was to be a father to him. And you can feel the love. I mean, even now I can feel the love. They're also saying that vibrational medicine would be good for this gentleman. That's kind of the collective that was working with them. And he's going to take a look at vibrational medicine frequency. We do some frequency work when we're in session together, so that's helpful. Then the gentleman's soul came in and was talking part of this conversation too. So, and as I'm doing the session, of course, I'm talking to the gentleman. It's not just me regurgitating information, but it is pretty much a channel. and it is just a very nice conversation, but it does come through as a channel. And the gentleman remembers such a beautiful, simple life when he was a little boy. He remembers sitting at a TV tray with his shorts and socks on. He had his little dog at his feet. Very happy time spent with his mom. His dad took that life was safe, happy, and simple. Not a thought at all. All his needs were met emotionally, physically, mentally for the most part. He had a great desire as a young man, and through the last 30 years to have his place be um, for his home to be a place where he's catered to be the king of his castle. Um, he said he worked. He said mostly he got that. He was pretty mm, somewhat demanding. Also had a wife that was pretty accommodating, and it worked for their marriage. Um, he also had a desire to, then he kind of switches from being a little boy to the man that he is now, and he would really like help with the burden of responsibility. Um, as it had a hard time asking for that. So that's something that's being worked on in the marriage. Um, he has a strong desire to have the home of his childhood, and then the wife comes in and she's saying, honestly, I had such a different life experience that was hard for me to create the same, at times hard for me to create the same calm environment that you had as a child. But she says she tried her best. But when things got too stressful for the gentleman working with, he'd get paralysis in his digestion, and that caused a lot of conflict and weight gain because he couldn't quite reconcile the child he had into the life experience as adult. Um, let me see what else there's to that. Um, he said it was also very conflicting because his mom was simple-minded. Doesn't mean that unkindly. She just was very. I think she had an education, not in high school, but also just was very, you know, pleased with her life, and she took a lot of direction from her husband, and just was happy with her life. So she just says I was simple, but the dad was more of a my way or the highway. And as this gentleman be went into tears, it became very conflicting. He didn't quite understand why his dad changed a little bit, and his wish not to be overbearing actually gained weight over his belly. So like showing me like his weight went over his belt, like it happens for some people. The weight and we hold a lot of emotions in our belly, and our digestive factors. We hold emotions through our whole body. But for this particular gentleman, it showed up in weight gain in the belly, and actually overbearing became over his belt. He had a tremendous fear of being overbearing, and at times was overbearing with his personality, and that's how it helped him. I'm hearing he was way too judging to himself, not very unkind to himself, held himself to a very, very high standard. There's nothing wrong, absolutely hold yourself to your highest standard, but be kind and gentle and give yourself a lot of grace, which he wasn't able to do at that time. Um, he wants his wife to be an equal. That wasn't always her. She took the back seat a lot, which when you look at that, it gives her an opportunity to blame him when things go wrong. And it also gives her an opportunity to not stand her own power and let him be responsible for a majority of things, big decisions. She took care of the household best she could, and he made bigger decisions, and she was pretty quiet about that. Um, she has her own reasons for why she participates in life like that, but we weren't having a session with her. We're having a session with the husband, but it's always you always get information from all the parties involved. Um, they're also telling them um, to laugh until he cries because it's so healing, and it'll bring back that happy, content, satisfied feeling that he had, and laughter heals instantly for you. They showed like his guides showed up in like white, they're laughing. They showed up in white coats. They said it's RX's prescription to laugh, laugh, laugh. What are you so worried about? What are you so uptight about? Laugh, go back into that playful sense of self that you have, that you always have within you. Your family enjoys it when you're playful and silly. And it encourages your wife to be playful and silly too when you're not so serious, because you both match your seriousness. And her stuff, it's like her safety. But anyhow, that wasn't really the whole conversation. Um, Let me just see what it's there. Then they're talking about his Chinese, the meridians from the big toe from the neck, but I don't really remember what that was about, and it wasn't so clear. So I'm sorry about that, Mom. What do you want to tell me? Um, he's saying coming out, he's Mom's kind of here, but she was he's just saying that stress resides in his head. His head, the seventh chakra is closed. His crown chakra is closed because he would get so stressed out. He's now starting to open that. His connection to spirit was blocked by holding on to the past. So the more he can live in the present moment, and he's here he's working on that, working on the present moment, and he's going to continue to work on the present moment. He does not allow movement in the present to be happy and simple at times. So it's a lot of things where he thinks he might not, where um, he didn't go always high up the corporate ladder as he would have liked, and that he considers that a failure, not a life experience, and that he has a lot of life experience. He went in and out of the corporate field to be an entrepreneur, and he actually did quite well for himself, and he holds on to past as well as many of us do. We hold on to the past and have a hard time living in the present moment. But his guidance is just saying he feels like his guidance is reminding him that you feel like you lost status in life, but you didn't. You're actually shifting your status into one of more strength, inner strength, and what used to be so important, you're shifting the concepts. They're also telling me something about update. What is it? He shifted his concept of what it is to be respected. They also, now they switch back a little bit to, I remember I said things aren't always linear. And again, this was not, this is not the recording. I'm getting kind of a download after the session from the mother and the gentleman and his team. So it's not as maybe as streamlined as it was when I'm actually in the session. But they also talked about when he was 13 or 14, his identity started to change. And that relates to what the father was saying. And as a teenager, the conflict came in, trying to go from the little boy to create the responsible man. But the gentleman um, took it to heart that there's something wrong with him. But and then they showed me like playing basketball, I'm sorry, baseball and different bats, and they changed bats a couple of times, and I took that as symbolism that has changed his identity. Um, and at that time, they were it's like he had all these different choices, like who to be, and they told him like, here's your bat, hold true to your identity. You don't need to compare yourself to others. There's no value in comparing yourself to others. It just causes you pain and heartache and stress. And but at the same time, he's trying to like how to be my own man, be different than my father, take what I like about my father and honor that, which many of us go through as we develop and mature through our teens. Like, who are we separate from our parents, but taking what we love about our parents or reject what no longer works for us. So that was hard for him. 13 and 14 was also stressful because he'd asking me to slow down again. 13 and 14 was stressful for him because he really did not like competition, but he was always in sports, which is competitive, and it makes you, he said many times, he said what worked against him was he was trying to get over power, which was, I'm better than you, power over one another, or less than. And so it was conflicting time for him because he really liked hanging out with his friends and being in sports, but he did not like the competitive part. It actually separated him from his friendships. Um, and you only got the position. He's talking about first base. It depends on your performance, um, which I guess that's true in all sports. But he just wanted to continue to have fun, and it became too stressful for him to compete with his friends. Um, and his guidance, and you know what feels right. You know what's best for you because of how it feels. And you at that age you start to reject his feelings and his intuition and went by someone else's standards, which we all do. Again, there's never a blame in these readings, just information so that you can start to heal and understand yourself better. You also get information on how to understand the people in your life to a greater degree. And that's what I think is so wonderful about these sessions, because it gives us tools and information to embrace what is best and then start working through what maybe wasn't our best or was a lot of times there's just misunderstandings in life. Like with the father, he wasn't intending to be, his intention of being critical of the son was not to harm the son, it was to empower him to be a man who was responsible, who would not be kicked around in life. Then he's also, the wife came in for a little bit and she says, this is where the mother stepped aside and the wife came in and said, you and I are very good together. We've had such different life experience that it is stressful to be with me at times, but I too am working on, I'm working as diligently as you are, and I'm so grateful for your presence in my life. There wasn't too much there from the wife, just a little bit of acknowledgement that combining life experiences, childhoods and adulthoods and things takes a lot of effort and care and concern, and they have that for each other, and they I just see a great connection and great love between the two of them, even though sometimes it's hard to what I'm hearing is life just got really busy and they never lost connection to each other, but they had different outlooks on life, and they've worked really hard to keep the same vision as they go through understanding their life experience. I hear they're actually doing very well at that. And then this guy says, how would it be to release your past that does not serve you? This is your time. Um, I guess that's all that the mother wrote for me after the session. But again, I wanted to just share this with you so you get a little bit better understanding what a session can be like and how powerful it is. This gentleman, um, honestly wasn't too sure what to do with the information when it first came through, but since then we've had a bit of a chance to talk. It's starting to make sense to him. And some of the things we talked about, like how to heal and how to look at his life experience, not as just as an experience, not right or wrong, but we get these beliefs that are so ingrained, and sometimes they help us, and sometimes they kind of paralyze us in moving forward in life. And so my sessions with the people I work with it always comes with great love and gratitude and appreciation from not only from myself, but from your highest self and the people that are in your life and that you work with. And many times it's helpful because it wasn't so much the case in this instance, a little bit, but when you have a relationship that maybe isn't, you don't understand why it is the way it is, it's helpful to have your spirit and the spirit of others come in and give you some clarity and some guidance on how to move forward. Again, my name is Kristine Kieland. I appreciate you giving me this time to explain myself and the way I work. And if you'd like to work with me, you can just go to my website at KristineKieland.com. But please, you know, every day I hear to love yourself, to love those, to be kind, to be generous. We're going through a tremendous change in human status. We're evolving, and as we evolve in consciousness, we have to clear up and heal our past experiences, and we are doing that on speed dial. So please be kind and generous to yourself and those you share life with. And thank you once again for being with me.